So, June, have you been to San Francisco? Is that where you primarily grew up at?
I was born in, I'm gonna look at the camera. I was born in Hawaii,
Okay.
but grew up in San Francisco. And then in my teens, my family moved across the Golden Gate Bridge to Marin County. My father's business did really well, so we had an awesome home and it was huge and it was great. But yeah, up in Northern California. Did not like the weather in San Francisco.
Ah,
Did not dig the fog in the 60. I'm an island girl, so did not dig that. But moving to Marin County was always 20 degrees warmer, so loved it. Yeah.
but have you been back ever?
You know what? I don't have any family. Well, I have a couple of nieces actually living in San Francisco, the suburbs outside. Yes, my one of my sister lives up there, and my mom stays with her. So I've been, but not for a while, not since COVID. Haven't been able to go back.
Does it feel different? What last time you came up compared to the time when you were growing up there?
Oh, of course. I mean, even before the massive homeless,
Pandemic.
I went up maybe even 10 years ago, and I kind of felt it was a little bit different growing up there. I mean, I kind of, what I really did love about San Francisco was that it's only 7 miles, and you can go from J-Town to North Beach, the Italian restaurants to Chinatown. I always felt, I mean, I hadn't been to New York's Chinatown, but I always felt that San Francisco Chinatown was pretty cool. So,
Right. And I also feel there's also been a demo shift, right? Like you were talking about, the homeless issue now. Now we have it here prominently. You go to Eagle Rock, Glendale, Venice Beach. It's nuts.
but and then I have family who, like I said, I have nieces that live there, and then I have family that go into the city, and they said that it's very different. And for years, my father threw the California Karate Championships at the San Francisco Civic Auditorium. That was a huge thing, and did that for a number of years. And then you talk to family, and they go, "Oh no, you can't go down to the Civic Center. Can't go there. There are tents," and it's kind of sad because San Francisco. I mean, I said I was never crazy about the weather, but still was a beautiful city. Love the cable cars, love Pier 39, but it's kind of sad that it's not the same. And my mom is really brokenhearted about that. She really is.
Oh, I bet. But you also lived in Hawaii aside from being born
So
there?
I was born in Hawaii. My
Oh, just
dad
born.
is born and raised in Hawaii. And he grew up in Honolulu. And then in his teens, they moved to the Hawaiian homestead because of my grandmother's Hawaiian. My grandmother's Hawaiian. My father's father is Latin, but they were able to stay at the Hawaiian homestead for years and years. And we go every summer and stay and visit for a number of years. Love Hawaii, really do. Love Hawaii. Love
Right. And so it's safe to say there is a lot of the enculturation of Hawaii, even though you were growing up north.
Oh yeah, of course. Just because my dad was always such a strong influence. Now on my mom's side, on the Filipino side, my mom came over. She's first generation. She came over when she was 13. She said she could read and write English, but she couldn't speak it. So going to an American school was very difficult for her. So my grandparents didn't speak. She spoke well Tagalog and mostly Ilocano. But because they wanted her to be Americanized, different time,
Sure.
um, they didn't speak the language and they only spoke English to her to help her assimilate. And just so many years went by that she couldn't teach it to us growing up. I mean, when she's with family and friends, she giggles, she can kind of understand and she'll say something, but not enough to really teach us. So we did grow up a lot with the more the island and the Hawaiian culture. I got more into the Filipino culture. I mean, of course, I was so close to my Filipino grandparents. Love the food. But I got more into the history and the Filipino pride with training in college. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it's been what I've noticed from people who train in FMA, Filipino Martial Arts. If for some reason automatically they pick up and it becomes part of their bloodstream already. It's like, okay, well then I am culturally Filipino. It seems Over anything else, whether if you're a Filipino chef or just like a designer, for some reason, people who train in the martial arts are just immediately immersed.
But or kind of unifies too, because I mean, one reason Magellan was able to defeat the Philippines, for what all the fighters there, was because the divide and conquer. And I still believe some of that still exists. And I'll tell family and friends, come on, Filipino pride doesn't matter what part or what area, what dialect, you know. So just try. And I think the martial arts kind of unifies that.
Right. And boastfully, I say this, I think the generation younger than us, they're a little bit more unified than our time.
Oh, okay. Well, that's wonderful. At least it's going in the right direction. That's terrific. Love that.
Right. They just have the attention span of like 15 seconds or less. That's the only thing because they're millennials and Gen Zers, so they can't focus as much. But they're not like, oh, that's another Filipino. Let's stare each other down and have beef.
Right.
I'll Americanize you too, by the way.
Right. Or and Manny Pacquiao, the success of him may have had something to do with that as well. So, yay, Manny.
Right. And did it feel so much more exclusive because your dad was who your dad is, the legend, Sir Castro. When you were training, did it feel natural to train or was it more like, oh my God, my legendary dad is training me, or did it feel
No,
mandatory?
and my dad was my dad. You talk to actors, children. It's still my dad was my dad, and I mean, he was tough. He was no joke, and he was very serious and very passionate about the martial arts. He loved all martial arts. Like I said, it was his passion, and then later his profession for over 50 years. And I never really looked at it that way. I mean, he was very serious, and on the mat training, it wasn't, oh, hi, Dad. He ran it like a class, and this was our instructor. No, just like I said, my dad was no joke. He was a little tough guy, but at the same time, very loving and very affectionate, and his family meant everything to him. So I kind of got the best of both worlds with my dad, and one of the main things I got from him was his fearlessness. And you don't take the martial arts just in the facility, just in the dojo, just in the karate studio or the Muay Thai Academy. You have to be able to take it to every aspect of your life. And I really learned that from my dad. I saw that with him. And you'll see other martial artists who, when they're out of their comfort zone, it's like, wait a minute, aren't you that big bad? I mean, you could be nice, but you just see that the confidence is a little bit different once they get out of their comfort zone. My dad never did that. He carried it with him in every aspect, and that was one of the greatest gifts that I was able to get and learn from him.
Any sibling type pressure to like, oh my God, Dad is teaching all of us. I gotta really make him proud. And did you end up like fighting each other and then throwing each other with a hip toss, or like grabbing a screamer stick and whacking each other over the head?
Okay. With my dad, I didn't learn the Kali from my dad. It was
Okay.
karate and later Shaolin, but I get what you mean. And siblings arguing and fighting, that's part of growing up. And my father, though, recognized the dangers of us, fighting and using our training. So no, like I said, my dad was no joke, and it wasn't a rule. He laid down the law that if we used our training against one another, one punch didn't matter, we'd have to answer to him. And all of us, we didn't fight because of that. And we knew if we broke that law, the consequences were way greater than some childish disagreement. So no, we did not fight, did not, because that was not allowed. We didn't do it.
Since you run like a really like one of the first prestigious like kids programs in striking, do you feel in a societal sense, do you feel that's lost? Like kids nowadays, they don't listen to their parents as much, or what what is your gauge with how kids are?
You know what? You can talk to every generation and they'll say something about that. My dealings with parents I've had is to kind of remind them, remember, you're the parent. You have to guide them. These are your children. And if you let your children do whatever they want, they're going to eat cake and ice cream for dinner. I had this one student, and the father had a great opportunity to teach his son, his 5-year-old son, a valuable lesson. I had a younger program because the classes are age specific. And in the 3 and 4-year-old group, he was a superstar. He was 4, he did great. So now he turned 5 and he had to move up to the next level. And then he was kind of timid. I was like, don't worry, you'll get it. You know, because the drills were a little bit tougher, all age specific. And then the father comes to me after a few weeks, goes, you know, I think, I mean, he enjoyed the classes so much in the younger group. I think it's too difficult for him. So I'm going to have him stop. He doesn't want to come anymore because it's too hard. And I said, Dad, you have this great opportunity to teach your child that when things get tough, when it gets hard, and it will, it's called life, you push through, you hang on, you make it work, you don't just quit. And I said, don't let him quit, because that starts a process of his life of, oh, it's too hard, oh, he's gonna quit. And I said, what's gonna happen once he leaves elementary school? And then he goes to junior high, oh, it's too hard. And then high school, and then college, and then life. And I said, don't let him quit. You are his parent. Guide him and show him that he can do this and push through and train and work at it. And unfortunately, the father gave in and the little one quit. And I saw them a few years later. And it was kind of sad because I saw him at a school event. And to see this boy who was, when I trained with him, 3 and 4, and to see him just so strong and see that leadership. And then all of a sudden, this was 3, 4 years later, and to see the shy introvert couldn't look you in the eyes, and it's because the father let him quit, and he probably let him quit with other areas. And I thought that was really sad.
So do you, is it kind of like you and Cruz Walter are like Caesar Milan, to like dog, because it's really not the dog, right? It's the parent. The
Well,
dog parent
we have
is
to
what
work
I'm trying to get
together.
at.
I understand what you mean. And I truly believe, because I do teach a lot of children, that there aren't bad children. I mean, they're bad adults, but there aren't bad children. They just make bad choices. And when they make a bad choice, not to tell them you're bad, but to recognize, wait, this is a bad choice. And how do you feel when you make a bad choice? How do you feel when you make a great choice? Happy. How does mom and dad feel? So that whole process, we have to work at it as a team with the parents, with the teachers, and it's just, building the children's confidence and their self-esteem. And there's a real misconception about self-esteem. Oh, I need to build my self-esteem. I'm gonna get a new hairstyle. I'm gonna get some new clothes. No, 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 no. Building your self-esteem, you take the attention off yourself, and it's doing esteem things for others. That's how you feel good about yourself, is you service and you help people. Not, oh, I'm getting new outfits, so I feel good about myself. No, no. Take attention off of yourself. And the same thing with building confidence. I'll have parents come in and, oh, he needs confidence. And I'll be like, okay, that's great. That's why we're here, and we're here to help. But building confidence for kids and adults is still a process. And in 3 phases. The first thing is you do the work. You don't just show up, you bring it. Do the work, you get in there. The second thing is you learn from your mistakes. You fall, get your ass back up. You take your licks. It's a process, but it makes you better. And then the final phase is you step up to challenges. And again, if you get knocked down, you get back up, get out of that comfort zone. Because confidence is something that you cannot take from someone else. You cannot buy. That's something that has to be earned. And that's also something that you can't fake it till you make it, because confidence shows in your body language, in your voice inflection, and behind the eyes. And again, you can't fake that, because push comes to shove, you better be able to do your stuff. And that comes from what? Back to number one, doing the work.
Yeah, and maybe Josh's son has beat up a bunch of the other kids because Crew and you have trained him so well, right?
It's not about
Hit him
that.
with a high plum and then boom.
Ah, it's not about that. I don't want any of our kids to fight. You don't want them to fight, but you want the confidence behind their eyes. And because then if he's using his training and beating up kids, then he's a bully and we got to address that. And I've told that to kids. I'm not going to train you to hurt people. And I know he's just joking too, but he does have confidence. He does. And a lot of it comes from him doing the work. But I don't want the kids to fight. Parents don't want their kids to fight. But to have that confidence and to look at somebody and look at them and be like, hey, you know what? I don't want to fight, but not to be afraid. And they see that. I've been in situations where just from my voice and my body language and some like, man, you're a crazy bitch. Like, that's right. That's right. Are you ready to die?
Boss lady.
So again, to have that confidence comes from doing the work.
And I mean this in a societal sense again, because you guys have been like, staple, like in training people. But with the kids program, have you seen a, a bigger need or a bigger effort in training these kids more mentally? Because the kids now are different than our time.
Yeah, you know what? I understand what you're talking about, and we have to. I mean, sometimes children need to be motivated, and it's really depending on the age group that they need to be
Mm.
motivated a little bit differently. 3 and 4 year olds, those young ones are used to getting whatever they want, so they come into a class. I want this, I want that, I want this, and they start grabbing things, and I was like, "Thank you for your opinion, but no." And this is the first time they're hearing that no. The 5 and 6 year olds, of course, know the difference between right and wrong. They're just getting used to their bodies. And at that age group, some of them are kind of young psychologically, but when they see their peers, standing there doing what they're supposed to be doing and not, oh, I can't do this, or crying because they didn't win. When they see their peers, following the rules and going through that really helps. One of my favorite age group is the 7 to 9,
Mm.
because they just want to please and they work hard, and it's kind of funny, but the same kids, once they get into the higher age group, the 10 to 13, all of a sudden friends are real important, and then you got to again motivate them a little bit differently.
And do you find it that because right now we're talking about a great aspect of curriculum, you know, but you've been through so much as far as for the evolution of Muay Thai, stand up, kids program. Do you find it, because this is happening in BJJ, where the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legends are like, "Oh, today's Jiu-Jitsu is soft. That's sport. I'm self-defense." Do you think Muay Thai or the art of kickboxing has even softened?
Well, I mean, my father was getting that, oh, you're a commercial. And when you teach the masses, you have to adjust. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be softer. Or I remember having a conversation with jujitsu instructors, and this is at the time when it took, what, 10 years to move up in rank. And
Sure.
I said to them, I said, trust me, my father's been through this. I mean, back in the 60s and the 70s with karate, it was very different. And I can see what you're talking about with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Oh, like I said, it took 10 years to move up. But I said, but wait till there's a Jiu Jitsu school. Right now, you're the only game in town. Wait till there's a Jiu Jitsu school on every corner in every city. And then you'll see how you kind of start having to adjust with the ranking and the teaching. I mean, it's really part of the evolution of teaching the masses. That's part of it, and it really is up to the individual instructor. There is some gray area, but to make sure that doesn't happen, and that, you know, the children are soft. And I remember who Walter came back from Thailand, and I was teaching the kids class, and the kids were doing great. And he comes to me. He was in Thailand for over a month, and of course, the children in Thailand training at 5, 6 years old. And he comes to me, our kids are soft. And I said, you just came back from Thailand. And I said, here's the difference, dude. Our kids are training because they want to train. I said, we don't have to, you know, in Thailand, they're training because they have to. And it's a whole different animal. And yeah, and fortunately, you know, the kids want to be here, so it'll be a little slower process, but they're hanging in there. You know, they're pulling their weight. And it was because he had spent that time with Thai kids. And Sitong was also, Kuya Tong, you know, helped kids off the street. It was kind of a little orphanage for the young ones. So for Cruz Walter to see that, and to see these 6-year-olds and these 7-year-olds slamming pads, and if you're a falong or somebody just visiting and you're sitting there, they'll come and kick you and get to work. And then you see them a few hours later, 6-year-olds folding clothes and, you know, doing their part. So again, it's very different. But I remember he said that. He was like,
Yeah, and for those who are listening and or watching, Crew Walter is an old school dude that like everyone revered him. And you know, back in the day, if you weren't Thai, even if you were Filipino or Vietnamese and you were a Thai fighter, they'd be like, yeah, but he's not Thai. Okay, Crew's like one of the OGs, OGs.
but it's not just that. I mean, oh, he's not Thai. Yeah, but he could speak Thai.
Sure.
His coaches were Thai. He trained in Thailand. And you know, okay, oh, he's a falong. Some people kind of felt that way, but why? If he wasn't qualified or respected or revered, why did Kuya Tong, one of the most famous Muay Thai coaches of all time, hand the West Coast branch of his Situtong to Walter? You know, there's a reason for that, and he, from day one, never took that lightly, and always was, you know, in awe of that. And yeah, so whether he's Thai or not, some people are like, oh, it's in my blood. Yeah, it could be. Or just like with my family, you know, it's in our DNA, but you still gotta train. You still gotta train. You still gotta do the work. So yeah, I mean, people who don't know him, of course, former Muay Thai champion in different weight classes, founder of Situtong Los Angeles, the West Coast branch of Situtong Thailand, also known to as one of the most successful camps because they produced more stadium champions than any other. So I mean that's a lot on his shoulders, and he takes it with stride and with pride. So again, people who don't know, his former Muay Thai champion in different weight classes, top Muay Thai coach, what, canine dog trainer, competitive shooter. Yeah.
Yeah, and I interviewed a few, actually quite a bit of female MMA and BJJ fighters because it's fundamentally mentally drilled into your head. Was it hard for you to not date someone or marry someone who's not a martial artist?
Uh, it's kind of one of my little pet peeves, that little thing. Um, when instructors, male instructors, date their students, because it's not an equal, they're not on equal levels. That's like a professor dating the student. And women come to places like this as a safe haven. Well, I know in our gym, I can't speak for other gyms, not to hook up. And then people, when they know my husband, Walter, when I talk about one of my little pet peeves, is they think I was a student of his in his class. And then we started dating and we got married. I trained in Muay Thai 5 years before I even met him. I trained at Fairtex. I trained with the Thai Boxing Association. Of course, though, training with Walter because of his skill level, because he was an active fighter, because of Sitong, he took my level from here to there, of course. But again, training in the martial arts since I was 3 or 4, training in the JKD concepts for over 7 years, which introduced me to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the Kali, the Sila, to Muay Thai, and then also more formal boxing. And then to have students later on, oh, did you guys meet when he was teaching you? No, I mean, it was funny because the gym that we both worked at, he taught the 4:30 Muay Thai and I taught the 5:30 boxing. So that's how we met. And it was more on an equal thing than a teacher student thing.
Yeah, but what I was asking Miss June was, well, let's say, like, was it possible for you to date, like, I don't know, an engineer? Not that an engineer is bad, a
Mhm.
non-martial artist. Maybe that's.
You know, it's funny. Um, I had an ex-boyfriend that was a martial artist. And after, that was done, I remember, and then meeting Walter, and I knew he kind of liked me, there was an interest. But I was like, I'm not going in that pool again. Not happening. And I just, kept my distance and then, tried to date. I dated other people, but again, it's got to be some core beliefs and things that you have in common. And then it was by chance too that when we did go out, because you know, especially when I was training too, there wasn't a lot of women, and you got to set boundaries when you train people. So it's not a dating thing, a hooking up thing. I don't only go out to eat if we all train together. Okay, and they all, you know, I got you. And I was like, no, I got it. This ain't no date. I got it. So to always keep those boundaries. So even though he'd say, hey, let's go out, I didn't kind of want him to get the wrong idea. Just by chance, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but we did go out. Um, and I tell this to women, give them a chance, because when I actually sat down and had a conversation with him, I realized he was way more than a martial artist. He was a musician. He was from the Midwest, and it was just to see it wasn't one dimensional, and this great sense of humor. So that was the interest. I'm not looking for a martial artist, but because that's such a big part of my life, I don't think I really don't think I could be with an engineer, and that's not there's anything wrong with it, but we don't have that common um, ground, or he ends up training because I train. No, that's not good. You gotta be able. I'm a lot to handle. You gotta be able to hold your own with me. So I mean, it worked out. We've been married almost 20 years. So
Right, and I ask that respectfully in a surveic kind of way because for some reason, when I interview musicians, actresses, they want the complete opposite. But for some reason, I'm batting 11 for 11 out of the previous 10 women that I've interviewed. They're like, well, maybe you're exclusive to this, but they're like, no, I can only, for some reason, I can only date martial artists.
But
So,
I could see that for acting, you could see how that would be very difficult, uh,
oh,
especially for two actors. And then there's some sort of competition, or because I remember this one actor I knew, he and his girlfriend were having a difficult time because he wasn't working and she was, and he was trying to be supportive, and just the attention and the limelight. Oh, he has it now and not me. I could see that for actors, how that would be very, very difficult. And they would want what they call like a regular person for some sort of normalcy, or to keep them grounded. And it's like, dude, don't believe your own press here. I'm your wife. So you
sure.
see how that would be different.
And leading to the actual question, was it is it easier to have a husband that you're running a business with and opening up a gym with, or were there a lot of adjustments?
Um, you know, I think I'm gonna plead the fifth on this. No, no, I'm kidding. No, we both have very strong personalities, and sometimes that works to our advantage, and sometimes not. But I think for us, I can't, like I said, I can't speak for others, and I think for us, when we keep our focus on what's best for the business, what's best for the students, and the attention is taken off of the individual, again, the self-esteem, what's best for the business, what's best for the relationship, what's best for the students, rather than the individual person, that helps you really stay on track. And like I said, it's been challenging with two dynamic personalities. There's definitely fireworks, great, but then with those fireworks, sometimes there's fires, and you just put them out, and like I say, get back on track. And I think one of the main reasons we make it work, or have been able to make it work, is because my husband, my partner, is the alpha male, and I'm happy being the Bravo boss lady. So that's how we kind of balance it out.
Yeah, and because the reason why I asked that, I won't name the actor, but he's in a series called Kingdom,
Hmm.
and then it's a story about like running an MMA gym.
Hmm.
So one of the most common things is the guy always like, oh, don't worry about charging him, don't worry about charging him, and then the female's like, look, dude, we can't be allergic to money.
Right.
You can't do that,
You
and
know, we
they don't seem to
we
be
went
like
through
that.
that. We totally went through that, because he had a lot of friends, and um, we went through that. Oh, just train, or oh, they would say what they wanted to pay, and I had to remind him, this ain't some backyard training, a club. I said, we got rent to pay, we got bills to pay. This is what we're doing for a living. So what ended up evolving, and it kind of took the pressure off of him when friends, people would come, hey, Rocky, give me a deal, Cookie, give me a deal. And he directs them to me. And again, it's perceived value on what you're getting for your training. So it is very affordable. I mean, our program, our unlimited program, somebody trains 3 times a week, and they stay for 2 classes. That could be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a Muay Thai class, or a boxing class and a Muay Thai. So doing 6 classes a week on our unlimited breaks down to less than $10 a class.
Sure.
You can't get a Happy Meal for that, or a yoga class for that cost, and the level of training. So I mean, I feel our rates are more than fair, and I tell people it's okay for us, to charge a fair price, and if you're going to support us, then this is how you support us. And we have specials when people can sign up if they sign up within their intro week. But bottom line is, yeah, we gotta run a business, and our landlord's there with his hand out. The utilities company. So it's a business.
Maybe you don't realize this because you've been around so many legitimate fighters and family, but to me, the time that I've trained with you guys, there was like this really good balanced meal because you have the hardcore guys who are beating the shit out of each other on one side, and then the technical kids, and then the technical hobbyists. Does that feel like utopian to you, or are you no longer like that? Just
Well,
okay, this is every day.
that, yeah, it's every day. There's to a misconception in people thinking that this is a hardcore fighter scene. It is, but from day one, the people paying our bills and keeping our doors open are the students training for fitness and self-defense. Whether it's technical, whether it's technical because they want to learn a martial art, the fighters are a real small percentage of the enrollment. And we have students that train, they are hardcore and they spar, but they don't want to fight for a living, and that's okay too. Or I had this one father signing up his 16-year-old son, and he comes to me, he's inquiring about information. I want my son to train here, but I do not want him to fight. And I look at him and said, don't worry, dad, fighters are a rare breed. It's not for everyone. It ain't easy, and somebody's gotta want it. You can't force anyone to do it. So I said, no, that's not a requirement that they train for competition, but part of the training is being able to defend themselves, and there's going to be some contact. But again, it's in a safe and supportive environment. And I was telling them these are their teammates. They're not trying to hurt them. They're going to get them. But person on the street is going to try and take your head off. So wouldn't you want this type of training for your child? And all of them was like, yes, of course, because tell them in the street, one of three things is moving, is happening. You are moving, you are hitting, or you're being hit. That's the same thing that's going on in the ring with boxing and Muay Thai. You are moving, you are hitting, or you're being hit. And when you get hit, you know, it's like, okay, what happened? Why did that happen? Oh, I got my chin down, keep my hands up. And you don't get mad, you just get them back. And like I said, you take the licks and you get better. But you learn how to defend against real stuff coming in and at the ranges of combat, which, you know, is what Bruce Lee had talked about, you know, punching range, kicking range, elbow range, standing grappling, and to have an art that has all that and a fight. And the only range missing from that is the ground, and that's where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu comes in.
Miss June, can you give me another 10, 15? 10, 15
Oh,
minutes?
sure.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Have you developed a good instinct and eye if someone comes in and goes in finding if this person's a fighter or not? It doesn't matter if they're going to be successful or not, but do you have like that sixth sense already?
You know, it's the ones who come in and say, "I want to be a fighter." Okay, have you trained? No. Or one guy came in, "I want to be a pro fighter." And it's like, okay, great. Are you an amateur fighter? And he's like, "No, I don't have any training." And I look at him, that's a long road from no training to a pro fighter. And we got that all the time. And the same thing I tell them all, just train. Just train. Oh, you don't know. You don't realize I do this is what I want to do. Okay, then train. You still gotta train. I had this one guy just going on and on. You don't understand. This is what I want to do. Now let's do that. Okay, train. We got some fighters in there. We got some beginners in there, but everybody works together. Because the one thing too about our gym, our Kai Muay, is egos are left at the front door and replaced with teamwork and camaraderie. And when they, at first people are kind of hesitant about fighters, and I was like, you know, the better someone is, the nicer they are. They have nothing to prove. They prove it in the ring. They don't need to walk around with a chip on their shoulder. So this guy was going on and on. I said, just train. You have to take the first step. I said, okay, train. About 5 minutes into the warm-up, his girlfriend comes running to the front desk. Do you have a bag? Like, a bag? What are you talking about? She took a plastic bag. What are you talking about? And she goes, my voice is about to flow
Oh,
up. I knew where he kind of was. It was where there was a lot of bags there. And I said, you have, workout bags. And I said, you have him get his ass up and go to the bathroom and throw up. I'm not giving him a bag, you know. And of course, it's just the warm up. And he was throwing up. Okay, happens. He comes to the front desk, so humiliated and so embarrassed. And I said, don't matter. I said, come back. Prove that this is what you want. She did the warm up. Come back. Unless you threw up on one of the fighters' bags, then I wouldn't come back. And I kind of laughed. But I said, come back. Did he? No. Do they? No. So it's the talkers that just talk. It's the people who come in and they train and they do the work. I guess I'm kind of jaded because of people coming in. Oh, fine. I want to do this. One kind of funny for me, it was kind of funny. We had moved to our second location, and this guy came in with his girlfriend, and he was going on and on. She's about 18. How he knows she should fight. She should fight. She was kind of looking at me. I don't know if I want to do this. I said, okay, she just needs to train. He goes, no, I work with her and I train with her. She's really good. She should fight. I said, okay, but she still has to train. And I said, it's a small community. Where did you train at? And this was at our second location, which I don't know if you remember was
I played against sports.
Yeah, it was right next door. It was literally 4 blocks west from our first location. And then I said, this is a small community where you seem like you've trained. If you're training her and you have this eye that she's a fighter, or has the potential to be this great fighter, where did you train them? And then he goes, oh, they're no longer there. They closed down. And I go, really? Well, where was it? Because like I said, we know a lot of the small community. And he goes, they were about 4 blocks east. And I look at him. I said, come in the corner place, and there was a jujitsu school right next to it. And he goes, yeah, that's where I trained. And I said, dude, that was us. And I ran the front desk, and I don't know who you are or where you train, but you did not train with us.
Ah.
Face in your face. Just because, he was going on and on. And with the girlfriend, she did end up training for a little bit, but of course it was only in the fitness classes. You gotta have a certain thing if you're gonna fight, and not everybody has it. And even with women, not everyone has it. They are a certain breed. I had this one female student she played water polo, I believe, in college. Very athletic, great runner. She was going to move to Arizona, and she had been actually training in the fitness classes and did some Muay Thai classes. And this is when there was a lot of smokers going on, and she said, I think I wanna fight before I move away. And I said, okay, we'll start doing the boxing classes, start running with fighters, start coming in for the sparring, get your gear. She sparred with one of the girls, and one popped in the nose, like, whoop, not for me. And it's not for everybody. But
Absolutely. And I feel like a lot of people, because, and I mean this with the utmost respect towards jujitsu, but you just can't forget about Muay Thai, boxing. Everything's such an essential hybrid to MMA now. And I think there is a renaissance. I don't know if you feel that, but I'm seeing a renaissance of people going back into striking and also adding wrestling. So it's great. And has the jiu-jitsu craze helped you guys as a gym also?
well, we brought Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu into Tong real early on,
Sure.
2005, 2006. They've definitely been a part of Tong. Our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, Fernando Castillo, is a second-degree black belt, trained with Health Gracie, moved out of the area, got his black belt from Bada Braga. And we are known as a stand-up gym, striking, Muay Thai Academy, and proud of it. But we have um, pro and amateur Muay Thai and MMA fighters. We have, I think, 6 titles of MMA state champion. We have a flyweight and featherweight MMA state champion. That's Gilbert Nakatani. Bantamweight MMA state champion. That's Johnny Ferris. Lightweight MMA state champion, Richie Leroy. Middleweight, Andrew Mastoa. And our heavyweight MMA state champion, who's also a pro now, and that's Big Mike Quintero. So that speaks volumes of our jiu-jitsu program, of our ground game. If we got that many state champions, most of them have gone on to pro, and all but one are actively training. So, yeah.
And I'll back you up with that, and I won't name the BJJ school, but I've seen Richard tap a renowned no-gi school.
Yeah.
And, I was watching it at a very curious eye because I'm like, okay, this is a Sidyotang guy, and he just tapped 3 guys from this no gi school. So I'll,
Yeah.
I'll I'll tell the listening audience, I'll back you up on that. 1,000.
Yeah, well, and Richard Roy is a great fighter. He actually had an injury, but he's coming back. So yeah, that's great. We got some great guys. I mean, they're high level, but they're also, again, because they come from the coach, and they started with him. Most of them started from the ground up. So yeah, they got great attitudes. They're great guys.
Right, and not even to brown nose, but normally with strictly striking gyms, um, for some reason the first emotion is when I meet fighters who come from other striking gyms, it's intimidation. But Josh, I mean, he's so legendary in his own name through your guys' lineage. Easygoing guy, Richard, laid back.
Well,
You know,
that goes back to the same thing. If you're good, You have nothing to prove. You don't walk around like this is a fight club, and you don't have to prove that. I mean, even Walter, a nice guy, don't make him mad. All of them don't make him mad.
Right.
Don't respect them, but these are great guys, and our instructors are active fighters, and a student comes in, and that's kind of a plus. Well, that's kind of cool, but they're also, well, how is he, and when the guys come up and they introduce themselves, I mean, because you can have a great fighter, but they also have to be able to communicate those skills. For example, as awesome as Muhammad Ali, well, I don't think I want to train with them. Or you have these great fighters, but can they communicate? Can they teach? Not everybody can teach. Just like not everyone can be a champion. It's kind of funny. Somebody had said, "How long?" They said this there to Walter. How long does it take for the average person to be a champion? And he looked at him. He goes, "The average person is not going to be a champion." So that's kind of funny. Yeah, no, it takes a lot more and a lot of work, and not everybody's cut out for it. I mean, people can fight, but there's a lot of sacrifice that goes with that too. And some do it, and some don't.
Yeah, that's like saying, okay, to be a legend is 8 years enough? Is that just about right, Miss June? Yeah, 8 years, right?
Or I had a student come up to me. He was an editor for I think it was Spike TV at the time, and he comes up to me and goes, "I've been coming every day, and I'm still working, and it's been 8 weeks, and I still can't get the kit, still can't get it." And I said, "Okay, so if I come to where you work and you kind of show me what you do in 8 weeks, I can do what you do." No, I get it. No, and then we had another student who was an artist and said the same thing. "I've been training, for 6 months, and I'm training hard, and I haven't gotten it." And I said, "Okay, you give me, a canvas and a set of brushes and kind of show me, come in and help me teach, and then I can do what you do in 6 months." And they're like, "Oh, no, no." So when you kind of put it to them like that, they get it.
Right. So before we promote your show, but this is important for females though. Like, I mean, when you were training in Muay Thai, when you were training in JKD, even though it's based out of martial culture and respect, was it still uber masculine and you had to deal with pieces of shit out there who are just like,
I mean,
look toots,
it's a male.
all but.
It's a male-dominated sport. When I was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was training at the Carlson Gracie Academy, and there weren't women there. The one that would come in occasionally was 5'10", 165 pounds. Come on. So, I mean, I've grown up in that all my life. And yeah, you're going to get some people who doubt you or who don't respect you. And you shut up and you train. And my dad would always say, "You let your fists do your talking. You don't say, 'Oh, it's not fair. You should,' no, shut up." And you earn their respect. And I've done that from day one. No matter where I've trained, you earn their respect. You can't expect it, or you don't get special treatment. You do the work. That goes back to that same thing. Stop this. I'm more of this. Strength. That's how you prove yourself. And you do have to prove yourself. You do.
And now with the tide, has it improved for females in training?
I want to say yes. Again, speaking from our facility, because
Sure.
women come in and they do the work. They definitely they do the grind, and they're in there. Yeah, so they don't earn it. They earn the respect, and those who don't, don't. Nothing you can do about that. It's an individual thing.
Right. And one thing, and I need you to correct me and check me on this. This is just an opinion, and I asked this in a survey type question.
Uh-oh. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
What I noticed with female martial artists, they don't have to be so.
Try by me.
I am the feminine queen. Because I feel like they don't have to do that because they use so much of their mental and physical energy training and fighting and sparring. They don't need to be like, look at that female Batwoman signal. You know,
Uh,
they're not very like verbose about it. Am
yeah,
I correct about that? What's your instant reaction?
I mean, that you'll have that, I think, in every sports profession, and you don't pay attention to that. I mean, I had we've seen it, but from my experience, they don't last. Those don't last. They don't last.
Right.
And again, you can't control. You can set some guidelines, but people are going to be who they are, and then they'll learn. They learn eventually that that's not the right thing to do.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, I understand what you're saying.
yeah, I just feel like the females who train and actually spar and fight, they're so confident, like what you said about, Josh and Richard. It's just like they don't even need to prove themselves. They're so exhausted from
Yes, but
getting beat up
how
and
did
being
those
beat up.
guys get that confidence? They trained. They stepped up to the challenges. They learned from their mistakes. They took their licks, of course. It was kind of interesting talking about women compared to men with the sparring. Um, Women get hit, not all, but many. That's because I guess how we're wired. But again, I come from, been training for so long, so it's a little different for me when I started sparring at 8 years old. But when women get hit, ooh, they get all mad. When guys get hit, they're, ooh, okay, good one, get you back. So I talk to the women and I tell them, don't get mad, just get them back. Why did they hit? Your hands were probably down. And then I tell people, and especially with the kids, give them an idea that sparring, you're not fighting, it's sparring. It's tag. So I'm gonna get you, get them back. It's dodgeball, it's a hard ball, get out of the way. And it's chess, there's strategy. And when you think of it in that way, and then when you do, I do that for the kids, do a progression that way, they get it. And it's kind of cool to see that. Some women, I remember we had a couple of students and they were all geared up and they were in the ring, and they're tapping, 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 tapping. Looked like they were doing technique. And I walked up to the ring and said, what are you guys doing? Are we doing technique? Because if you're doing technique, you don't need all that gear. Oh no, we're sparring. And they go, oh no, you're not sparring. I mean, somebody's got to get somebody, and that's how you learn. And you're not friends; you're training partners. And that's the boundaries that women that I've noticed that need to kind of overcome with it. You could be friends, you could be friendly, but time to train, you're training. And if you get hit, don't get mad, just get them back. Or, why? Why did I get hit? With my chin down, don't cry, don't swear, just, you know, you gotta take your licks and just get back. So that ends up being kind of an interesting dynamics. And the women that do stay and do get it really excel. The ones that don't, don't. Or then later I had one that was a little bit more experienced, and then the new person came in, and again the tap 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 tap, and I pulled her aside. I said, "What are you doing?" Well, I'm kind of helping her. I said, "No, that's what's called new blood. You pull off the stuff on this new person that you can't pull off on somebody more experienced. That's the cycle." And I told her, you should be pulling off the Superman punch on her. Go. You're not going to help her by just talking to you, spar. Or when we have some of the guys helping the women, I had this one guy, she was blind, and he was just standing there. And she was just hitting him, hitting him. And I went, wait, what's going on here? And he goes, well, I'm helping her. So you're not helping her. She'll get better work on a bag. I said, if you're going to help her, put something in her face. Don't take her head off. Don't hurt her, but tag her. She develops a false sense of security. Oh, I'm so good swinging from the fences. Come on. That's not helping him. That's not helping her at all. And I said, help her by keeping her back. She drops her hands, hit her in the face. But again, don't hurt her. Don't take her head off, but let her feel that it's learning.
Yeah, and it really is, let her taste some reality.
Yeah, because again, it just builds a false sense of security. We see it all the time. We have one of our female students training at a time where there aren't other female students, and she's training with the guys, and they're going easy. And then when I was talking to her, I was talking to women, they go, yeah, but they don't take me serious when it's funny, they go too easy. I said, you want them to take you serious? Put some behind that punch. I said, let them feel it. Hit them. Let them feel it. And as soon as they do, and the guy kind of feels it, like, oh, good, okay. And then they know that you're real and you are doing something. And 9 out of 10 times that makes the transition, and then it works.
Cool. Well, I'm excited because you have a TV project with the Rey Network. Maybe just break down how this came about. I personally feel it's long overdue, but how did this come about?
Yeah, I've been involved with fitness for so many years. I won a fitness competition, regional, and I was second runner-up in national. So fitness has been a part of my life for, gosh, most of my adult life. So that's something I've been doing. And people have asked me recently, gosh, how did you get the show? And I tell them, I found out who was head of acquisitions, and I submitted. No, I'm kidding. You don't do that. They don't take that. Movie companies, film companies, networks, they do not take unsolicited.
Nothing blind.
That does not happen. But I had somebody that I had worked with years ago on a TV pilot, and he ended up working for El Rey and was one of the executive producers. And earlier this year, he called me and said, would I like to pitch a fitness-based show? And I was like, yes. And then within 3 weeks, it was green lighted. We shot 10 episodes. The first episode aired last Monday, October 19th. And it really is an awesome project. It's fitness drills combined with fight training from combat sports. It is a workout video, but there's, a workout show. It's 1 hour, but it's also fun, easy to follow along. If you've had some training, then bring it, because I take it at a certain pace. If you're just starting off, then, just start out, be cool, have fun. You're not gonna get it today or the next day or the next day after that, but you will get it as long as you don't quit. And then it's kind of fun and informative stuff. I do some self-defense. And then I also talk about different situations that I've been in and other people have been in. Our first episode, I did gun disarm in the self-defense. And again, these are just options, and you have only a few minutes. It's not a seminar, but just to show people that it is possible. And again, that comes from Kali. All of the disarms I do, of course, comes from Kali. And then I also have a section in the show called June's Corner. It's kind of fun. It's fun facts, things that you may or may not have known about the martial arts, combat sports, or the fight world. So yeah, like for the first episode, what's a stronger punch, horizontal punch or vertical? I'm going to ask you, Charles, what do you think is strong?
Vertical's faster, but the horizontal to me is stronger.
That's not the question. Which is the stronger punch?
Horizontal.
Or horizontal. Okay. Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch, iconic 1-inch punch, was vertical. So, think about that. Here's the answer.
But Bruce Lee is the exception.
No. But still, I know a lot of guys from the Asano Academy who can do that 1-inch punch, that vertical punch. Wing Chun, that art. A lot of the system that might karate, they're doing a lot of vertical punches. And kind of was a trick question. It was a trick question. Because the power I asked which is the stronger punch. And the power of a punch comes from the lower body, comes from the legs and the hips. It doesn't come from the little wrist. So it was a trick question because they could be equally strong. So why does a fighter, a boxer, an MMA, and Muay Thai fighters turn their punch over? And that's because it tears the skin. Now you know.
Right, and it's also the connection from the legs to the hip to the shoulder.
You still have that kind of disputed with the power, because again, you're dipping and you're throwing not the shoulder, not the hand. It all comes along to the right. It starts from the lower body and the hips and goes in. But again, for a fighter, that's essential to get that tear. So that's why they turn it over. What's interesting is you talk to people who train in arts where they turn it over and they're like, oh, horizontal. And then you talk to people who train in arts with a point, oh, straight punch. And I mean, what's cool is both answers, both punches can be equally strong.
So do you jab vertically?
I sure do. No, I don't. I turn it over. I turn
Oh,
it
okay.
because of my of the boxing background, the Muay Thai. I do turn my punches over. I also am left-handed, but I don't train southpaw. I train in an orthodox stance, and that was actually training in karate was a right-handed art for me. So being left-handed was very, very difficult. And they don't make the adjustment like with boxing. So yeah, it was tough growing up. I didn't compete in forums, and I think all of that frustration from being all awkward and kind of toughened me up, and I sparred instead of doing forums because of kind of aggressive with that. But so it wasn't until I did boxing, and I had trained in boxing, but I actually worked with a coach and did some formal boxing, and I told him that I'm left-handed, but I train a lot with my right hand because of karate, the other arts I've done. And he said, well, my suggestion to you is that you train orthodox stance. It's easier for an instructor to teach you. It's easier for you to partner with someone. And then once you get it, you get a handle, then you can switch leads. And at the very least, you develop that power and coordination on the right hand. And because, I'll like comb my hair right and left-handed, because I've done so much with my right hand, sometimes I do get confused. Oh, wait, which one feels better? Which one? So, that's a good thing.
But do you swing a stick and fight with a knife with your right lead
I
or left lead?
Left lead. I step in, I'll step in on an attack, and I'm stepping right in. I'm not moving back. So I'm in a left lead, and I'm stepping right in with the right lead.
And do you find yourself more advantageous sparring against a southpaw because you're a lefty?
I know,
Or is it still difficult?
I don't know. I don't care. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't wait. Again, you don't wait for the person to dictate the fight. You
push the pace and
you take the fight to them. You don't think about all that. Or it's interesting when talking with some of the fighters, and of course, they study tape or they do this. But the last minute, it happens so many times. A fighter gets injured, dropped out, and somebody else comes in. And I remember saying, it's great if you have a chance to kind of get an idea of who you're fighting, but it's not always accurate because, your opponent can be changed at the last minute. Sometimes people also change. And the truth is, just like in the street, you really have no idea what they have. All you know is what you have. And whether it's in the ring or the street, you just know what you have and you bring it. And you take the fight to them. And for me, that applies in both areas. In the ring or in the street. You don't know what somebody's got. I remember years, I was training in the JKD concept again. It was great. Training 7 years. At the time I wasn't working much. I was training, I was teaching, I was acting, literally training 6.5 hours a day. Like I said, 4.5 at the Carlson Gracie. Had going here doing college, going here doing boxing, going here doing kickboxing, which I training. And 7 years, reality hit me, and I did not feel good at any of the arts except for the karate I did for so many years as a kid. And I remember mentioning that to one of the senior students. And he looked at me and actually said, oh, you're not training hard enough. I was like, come on, dude, come on. And it was actually my boxing coach who said, you're doing too much, June. I was what they call jack of all trades and master of none. And that's what I felt like. It was great learning the arts, but I wanted that it wasn't enough for me to be okay. I wanted to be good. That's who I am. I'm going to strive for something better. And when that wasn't happening, and he said, boxing coach, you're doing too much. Pick one, pick two. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, although I loved Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and it was great. I mean, I'm more stand-up, but it's great. It's a great art. And I love that art, knowing how to escape the mount. I'm not going to escape the mount or put somebody in an armbar. I'm escaping the mount, getting on my feet and moving in the head. Or could be able to put a rear naked choke and have that work, because I had a situation once where the person was on PCP and I didn't know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm hitting, fighting, slam his head against the wall, stay down, I take out, come up like a cartoon. So I mean, I love these arts. I loved Kali. I love the weaponry. The going from the coordination and from weapons to empty hands, from the sword to knife, to just loved it. But again, it was too much, and I wanted to be good. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I did boxing and Muay Thai, that's when my level really soared. And it was shortly after that is when I met Walter. And funny story, several years later, I ran into that same instructor. And then I kind of told him what my evolution had become. And he said to me, well, June, you actually missed the point. Okay, enlighten me. And he said, my goal is not to be good at any one thing, because chances are I'm a better boxer than that guy is a better grappler, or I'm a better a Muay Thai fighter than that guy is a boxer. And I looked at him and I said, oh my God, you've never been in a street fight, have you? And he did not like that. And I said, you know, when you're going to realize that that boxer is better than you when you're on the ground. And again, the same thing, you don't know. I said, I see what you do, you spar. And you know, this guy's coming in, he's a boxer, he's got a lot of weight on his front leg because he boxes, and he steps on this, so you're going to kick that front leg all day long. Oh, you see this guy's a grappler. And I said, but that's sparring, and that's not fighting. And he wasn't happy, but I didn't care, because, you know, I was speaking the truth, or my truth. Obviously, he had never been in a street fight. It happens like that. Well, I'm going to watch. If he's boxed, so I'm going to take him down. I'll have that time. It goes by so quick. There's so many variables. So that was kind of an interesting evolution of my training in the JKD arts. I mean, it was great, but for me, I needed to focus. I needed to aspire to a higher level.
Yeah, that's such a great share, because that was really a lot of your dad, the areas that you trained in, and you know, for you to have that almost like burning bush moment with that guy, and you go, wait, this guy has never been gotten his ass kicked in the street.
Yeah. Or, you know, actually speaking of Guru Dan Insanu, when I first started training, because he was also a black belt in Kempo Karate under Ed Parker. And it was very interesting, and he was a great guy. He is a great guy, but was always very helpful to me and my father. And when I was training, I had been training for less than a year, and he came up to me and he goes, how you doing? How you doing? I training. I said, good. I mean, you know, it's tough, but you know, I'm getting it. I'm hanging there. I like it. And he goes, let me tell you something. And he said, whatever you've learned, you know, that's great. But what I'm going to tell you is put it on the back burner. What? Empty your cup. Put it on the back burner. And he goes, and just learn. Don't get caught up in comparing and the stance. Just learn this art, or the new art you're learning and you're experiencing. And then when you got a handle on it, then you'll see where you can combine the attributes of the two. And that, I mean, I think I was doing that already. I wasn't comparing, oh, we do this, or in karate they do that. But to hear him say that was really something. And I shared that with other people coming in from different styles. And that's great. There's no comparison, but you're learning. So put it on the back burner. And it was very interesting because I had achieved such a high ranking and a high level in Shell and Kempo. starting something new. You got to be a beginner, and that's okay. I remember my first was in a jiu-jitsu class, and I was tying my belt, and I was like, I'm a white belt, and I was like, I'm a white belt. I'm not performing. There's no expectations. I can make mistakes, and it was the greatest feeling. And I took that with every aspect, with every time I learned a new art. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a beginner, have fun, enjoy the process. And just doing that, I think really helped me to excel and not become impatient. Or it was interesting when I was doing calling and the instructor was like, June, reach out, reach out. My mind was like, reach out. And my arms are almost all the way extended. Reach out. He goes, reach out, reach out. And then I saw a videotape. I have something. And this is what I was doing with the stick. I was punching the stick. What he meant was to reach the stick out. And as soon as I saw that on video, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because again, so used to punching, I was punching with a stick and not taking advantage of that whole length of it. So that was kind of funny.
That's awesome, June. I've took a lot of time. You were very generous. Are you doing privates, seminars?
I'm not doing seminars. I mean, I got a lot of stuff on my plate. I do some privates, but I'm not going to babysit anybody. I'm not going to do that. No amount of money I'm gonna do that. So I'll take on, and I do take on a select private students. Yeah, I'll do that. The show Monday nights, guys, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then it's 8 p.m. The Rey Network. Like I said, it's an awesome show. I'm gonna keep posting because each week they're gonna give us, they're gonna get a new digital episode poster. So please, everybody, keep sharing, keep supporting our industry. This is our industry. So thank you, Charles. Thank you, viewers.
Yeah, and before we sign off, I just want to say, man, you are so polished and so are TV honor talent ready, and and then you back that up with all the martial arts knowledge that you know. I really you deserve this show, and I hope you get many more shows and the utmost success because you deserve it. And props to you. I've always respected you from a distance, and I hope once we get this hot damn vaccine,
Oh yeah.
all the ways up to Sid Yotong and you and Cruz Walter's career.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are open. We're
Oh,
fortunate.
please, sure.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have a large gated parking lot. So we got canopies up, we got mats on the ground, we're getting bag stands put up. And it is tough and it is challenging. We're Southern California and training outside in that crazy heat wave and the fires, that couldn't be done. But to still be grateful to even be open partially when so many gyms are closing, so many businesses. So yes, we are open. Students come in with a mask. We take their temperature, and we're following our guidelines doing the best we can. Governor, open up our gyms,
Please, jeez.
please.
And where can they get a hold of you?
Actually, Sitong, we're on the web. That's easy. You'll find the phone number there. You'll find the email there. It's great, and thank you all. And I'm very blessed and fortunate for El Rey to have the show and to have me on there. And we're kicking butt. So want to keep going, and like I said, it's a project that I'm really proud of. And guys, come on, support our industry. Keep watching. June Castro's Fight Fit Boot Camp, a better you worth fighting for.
Fantastic, June. Thank you so much, and I'll be in touch. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Take care.